Greetings, drinking buddies. Today we're talking about the humble grapefruit and how we can make it into two excellent cocktails.
I'm your drinking buddy.
All right, drinking buddies. So we're going to begin with a grapefruit old fashioned. And I thought that the right spirit for this would be some Knob Creek rye. I picked Knob Creek rye because I have a feeling the flavors in this particular bottle are going to lend themselves well to grapefruit. It's got a really citrusy nose that I think is going to complement that flavor. It's sweet and kind of desserty, but it's got a little bit of that rye spice, and I think that's going to help complement the grapefruit. So we got 2 ounces of our rye. Knob Creek rye to be specific, but you could use a different rye if you wanted to. All right, we're gonna hit that up with a couple dashes of orange bitters. And I made this handy little syrup here. This is a grapefruit oleosaccharum. Now, oleosaccharum is a, oleosaccharum or oleosaccharin? Oleosaccharum. Is a syrup that they used to make back in the day to make punch with. And you know, sometimes it's used in cocktails today. The way you make it is you take sugar and you combine that with the citrus zest. Traditionally lemon, you know, sometimes orange. So what I did to make this one was I zested 3 large grapefruits and 1 orange. And that yielded me probably about a 3/4 of a cup of zest. And I combined that with a 1/2 cup of sugar, and I let that sit until it became a syrup, and I filtered out the orange zest and grapefruit zest. Now, a couple things to keep in mind here. If you're on any medications, grapefruit can actually interfere with them. So I would recommend, if you're on any medications, you might want to look into whether or not grapefruit can mess you up. I've heard antidepressants and antibiotics specifically don't like grapefruit. Don't know why, but just a little heads up there. Also, I would recommend getting a really good citrus zester because you don't want any pith when you're zesting your citrus. The pith is the bitter underlying white part, and especially on grapefruit, it's really bitter. We're gonna use a 1/2 ounce of our oleosaccharum in here. Pour slow because it is a very thick syrup. And we have a little bit more of that for our next cocktail. Yeah, get that all in there. Yep. We're gonna actually use our spoon to help us a little bit here. Next up, we're gonna stir. All right, I have a little piece of the grapefruit zest here that I already kind of squeezed and gave a little bit of that treatment to the glass. I'm gonna dump that in there, and we're gonna pour this in. All right, drinking buddies, so we got our grapefruit old fashioned here, and the last time I made an old fashioned on this channel, I had somebody call me out in the comments saying that you should always serve it over a big chunk of ice, so I got a nice sphere of ice in here. Okay, so yeah, this is really good. A lot of citrusy flavors, grapefruit, orange. You get a little bit of butterscotch coming through from the rye. Oh. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend using a very good rye in here. Not that the Knob Creek rye isn't good, it's a very good rye, but it's not a very expensive rye. I would recommend using a mixing rye for this. Maybe even a Rittenhouse rye, because it's on the cheaper end, or maybe even something like Jack Daniel's rye, because the oleosaccharum totally takes over. It's most of the flavors I'm getting, but there is a little bit of that underlying butterscotchiness and a little bit of that underlying rye spice flavor. So I recommend you try out this here old fashioned because this came out really good. Let's see what else we can do with grapefruit. All right, drinking buddies, the next one we're gonna build in the glass, and this is gonna be a drinking buddy version of the Paloma. Now I've made a Paloma in the past where I made some grapefruit simple syrup and combined that with tequila, but this one's gonna be a Mezcal. Paloma. And I think this one's gonna be really fun. I think you guys are gonna really enjoy it. So we're gonna begin with some of our Luminar Mezcal. This is gonna be the añejo. I know you wouldn't normally use an añejo in a cocktail. Normally you just sip that neat, but I feel like the flavors on this are really strong and they're gonna really come through on here. We're gonna begin with a 1/4 ounce of our Oleo Sacrum. Don't need to go crazy. Yep, 1/4 ounce. Yeah, crazy you get so much syrup out of what basically amounts to just the oils coming off of the citrus and a little bit of the juice that ends up in the peel. All right. Next up, we're gonna do 1.5 ounces of our Luminar Mezcal Añejo. Really good Añejo Mezcal, and it's a affordable as well. I think it's about a $40 to $50 bottle. All right, got our Mezcal in there. Before we add our grapefruit seltzer, we're gonna go ahead and give this a stir. I got these strong water bitters that I'm always looking to try out in cocktails. I'm gonna use their aromatic bitters. So they're called golden bitters and they're their aromatic bitters. And I'm gonna do a few drops of those. If you don't have these at home, Angostura would be fine. Those are another version of the aromatic bitters. So I'm going with these golden aromatic bitters from Strong Water. But like I said, if you don't have those, just do a couple dashes of your Angostura. And last up, we're gonna top it off with our grapefruit seltzer. This is a wonderful, refreshing beverage for sure. This would be one that you would love in the spring or summer. Of course, I'm making it right in the middle of winter, but you know what? I live in the desert and it's never really winter here. Mezcal Paloma. Oh yeah, the grapefruit flavor is really great here. The mezcal is certainly muted, but it's still there for sure. You get a little bit of that smokiness. There's a little bit of the saltiness that I sometimes taste off of an agave product, and as well as a little bit of a orangey thing coming through here that I'm guessing comes with a combination of the fact that there's a little bit of orange in the Oleo Sacrum, and then, you know, mezcal sometimes have a little bit of an orange note. At least this one does. Yeah, this is refreshing, amazing. I feel like if I was served this at a bar for $10, I would be very happy. You know what, $15. I would pay $15 for this drink. Well, drinking buddies, this has been my grapefruit special. I hope you try out making the grapefruit Oleo Sacrum and you play around with that at home to make some excellent cocktails. If that process was too much for you, I really feel like you could just make some grapefruit simple syrup and make the same cocktails. Grapefruit simple syrup, equal parts sugar to equal parts grapefruit juice. Combine those together, heat it up, mix it together, replace that with my 1/2 ounce or 1/4 ounce in here, 1/2 ounce in the other drink. You'd make some excellent cocktails. They wouldn't be quite as good as what I made, but hey, they'll be pretty darn close. And I really appreciate all of you. Hope you have a great 2022. See you on the next one.